What's up everyone, welcome to the Speedcube.co.nz YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking apart and reassembling a 4x4 Speedcube. So putting back together one of these things is probably the question I'm asked most often about any cubes that need rebuilt. Because the thing about 4x4s, 6x6, any of the even numbered cubes is that they pop. Like, pops happen, it's a thing, and so people need to know how to rebuild 4x4s. And there's no way around it, it's kind of tricky. I'm going to try and explain it as easily as I can today. The cube I'm going to be using today is my stickerless Chi something or other from 2017, 2018, something like that. It's got blue internals, which I think might be unique, so if anyone's smart enough to tell me what this cube is exactly, because I've forgotten, go ahead and tell me down in the comments, that'd be cool. And if you find that this video doesn't adequately explain how your cube goes together, like maybe your internals are really different, you can also leave a comment. And if I have the cube that you need rebuilt in stock, I'll make a video on that as well. And while we're talking about leaving comments, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content as well. Okay, so the tools we are going to need for this job are as follows. 1, your 4x4. 2, a Phillips head screwdriver. 3, some tape. Masking tape is ideal. If you don't have masking tape, your regular Scotch, invisible tape, whatever, that's going to be really good as well. Something that's easy to take off. I wouldn't recommend using electrical or sparky tape, and I would definitely not recommend using duct tape. Do not do that. Duct tape is amazing for lots of things, but not for putting on your cubes, because you'll get them all covered in sticky goo and you don't need that. So without further ado, let's get this thing happening and take this thing apart. So first of all, I'm just going to do this the easy way, and I'm going to take it straight down to the bone, get everything taken apart so we can rebuild this thing from the ground up. Gonna just remove one side completely. Whoa, oh, okay, there we are now. Now we're popping. Once you get one of your centerpieces off, you are off. It's all go from there. You are 100% gonna want to organize these, so grab yourself some tubs or some cups or disposable cups or whatever as well. Isn't that pretty? I do like the inside of a 4x4. They're so cool. There's no space wasted. It's very cool. All right, so once that first part is done, you can actually just pull the rest of it apart with your hands. Oh, look at all those guts. Ugh. Rough. Look, it's all gonna come apart. Don't worry about it. It's all good, people. Don't be scared. This is all gonna be put back together nice and easy. I'll just pop these last centers off. And there we go. That is a comprehensive pile of 4x4 guts. Okay, so tidy up time, let's go. All right, that looks like everything. Let's run through what all these pieces are and what they look like. So starting with the external pieces, right here, that's a corner. Obviously it's got a stalk, it's got 3 colors, and it's corner shaped, easy. You are looking for 8 of those. These are center caps. They're flat and square, and they have a little groove in them, just there. You're looking for 4 of these on each side, which means that you're looking for 24 of them. Up here, these are our edge pieces. So obviously you've got, for each edge that you would have on a 3x3, you've now got 2 edge pieces. So they go together like this. This one is not magnetic, by the way, everyone, so soz about it. If it was magnetic, it would be a little bit easier to build, actually, and you wouldn't need much tape. But anyway, these are the edges. Altogether, you're looking for 24 of those. Just in case your cube has had like a massive pop, I thought it might be useful to know the numbers. So it's easy to work out how many pieces are currently in the dog. Now, here we go. These are what I'm going to call the large internal pieces. They look a bit like this. Big, flat side. And then there's like a blade. When we were looking earlier and it looked all pretty, they sort of sit inside the core like that. You were looking for a dozen of those, 12 of those. These pieces I am going to call the small internal pieces, and they go alongside our large internal pieces and sit inside the puzzle like that, in between the cores. And yes, putting this back together is as fiddly as it looks. So yeah, be under no illusion, like putting a 4x4 together is quite a hard time. It's quite a tricky puzzle to put back together. Whoa! As demonstrated. So yeah, these are our small internal pieces. That's what they look like. These are the ones that are most likely to go boink if you have a pop. And you are looking for a total of 24 of these. And finally, we've got our core piece, which looks pretty familiar, but this one's got some grooves on it, which is going to help our core pieces go on the right way, which is very helpful. 6 screws and 6 springs, and 6 core pieces. Now on this puzzle, they come apart. So I've got the flat core piece here and the core, I suppose, sleeve, which goes on there. The screw's going to go in here. You'll notice there's these little ridges on mine, but don't worry about those because they are going to be in the right place because of the fact that these have little grooves on them that coincide with the core. So the core is going to keep us right when we put all this back together. No stress there. So those are all of our bits. Let's start on assembly. Oh, but before we do, this is where we take our containers, in this case leftover drinks cups from my daughter's birthday, and we put all of our different pieces in these cups. Whoop. Which leaves us with our core pieces, and that's good because that's where we're going to start. So you're going to grab your screwdriver now, and we're going to put in 5 of these center pieces and just leave the 6th one for just now. We're going to come back to that once we've built a couple of layers of the puzzle. So this bit's pretty simple. Screw goes inside there like that. Align the piece with the grooves. So this one has like one groove that goes all the way through, and the other groove is just on the inside. See there, there's just like there's a big groove and a tiny groove. Big groove, little groove you can't see. And I'm just gonna loosely tighten that up. Give it about 6 little turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'll do. Enough so you don't strip it, but not so tight that it's impossible to put the puzzle together. So let's go and put another one next door. Find the groove. There we go. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 for luck. And this one, let's just make a line all the way around. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1 for luck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 for luck. So now we've got 4 all round. We'll just bang another one on the other side. It's a bit of a flappy core, this one. If you've never built a 4x4, you've got these loose bits flying around. Certainly on this one you do anyway. And that's all right because they are 2-piece center core bits. So we're ready to get into this now. What we're going to need is 2 teeny tiny internals and 1 of the big internals. And if I haven't mentioned it already, building a 4x4 is really tricky. It's just tricky. It's kind of annoying. It's really fiddly. Way more fiddly than a 3x3 or a 2x2. But I'm going to try and guide you through it. So the first thing we're doing is we're going to reunite this big internal piece with its 2 corresponding little internal pieces. We can hold them all together like this. So that's what we're looking for, is like a right angle. The tricky part is we've got to now slide this unit in between 2 of these cores. And what we're going to do is create a cross this way across the pieces as well. But that'll become more apparent as I get started. I am going to grab these pieces, then using sort of 2 fingers behind one piece, I'm going to try and hold it together while I maneuver it under this other center like this. Now you might find a way that works better for you, but that works for me just now. That's going to hold that together. So that's what we are aiming for. Center, then small internal, large internal, small internal, then another center. What you can do now if you want is grab your tape and just pop that on there to try and keep them aligned. If your cube is super lubed, then this is going to be tricky. You might want to just dry it off, just clean it off with a towel or something. But this is just going to give us a little bit of support while we get on to the next set. So again, large internal, 2 small internals, put them together like so. And I'm going to go for the right angle. So again, I get 2 fingers behind this core piece, get one side in, and then just with some careful, gentle, patient maneuvering, try and keep them all aligned. And there we go. There's 2 at a right angle. This is one of the trickiest pieces of putting this puzzle back together. I'm not going to say it gets much easier than this, but this is particularly tricky. Whoop! While we're here, let's just press the old save button on that, give us a little bit of security. Now, I'm going to go for this one. Roll call, 1 big, 2 small, looking good. Middle finger, index finger behind the cap, gently turn it in. Oh, dang. So I've put that in the wrong place, but right now that's not the end of the world, because what I can do is very gently just turn that round. There we go. So there's 3 sets together now. We're holding up pretty good at the moment. 1 big, 2 small, all together now. Now I am intentionally going to use that turning trick this time. I think that's going to be easiest. Don't use too much force because this is super, just at this stage, this puzzle's so fragile. Like one wrong move and you're going to be starting from scratch, which isn't the end of the world because the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, nurse, remove the bandages. So that's where you want to be. This first stage is, I don't know, somewhere between art and science. I don't know, but it's real tricky. Anyway, there we are. We're ready to move on. We are now going to build the bottom layer. And just because I solved with white on the bottom, let's start with our 1, 2, 3, 4 white centers, our 4 pairs of matching edges, and finally the 4 corners that have white faces on them as well. Starting with the centers, first of all, let's just flip this upside down. Then we can sort of just very carefully hang our centerpieces in here. Some people don't put the centers in to start with. I prefer to. It just seems to work for me. You can then stand it on those pieces, which is nice. We then take our centerpieces right side down, and they just slip in there as well. And then finally, we're going to put our corner pieces in. Oh, okay, there we are. Now, if this were magnetic, this would already be quite reasonably stable, but as it is not, so just tape up all those sides, just to give this like a fighting chance of holding together, because without any tape on it, it's so fragile. And then we're going to move on to our next layer. Okay, so what we're looking for in this next step is 2 centerpieces for each side and 1 corner piece. So if it's sitting in the right alignment of colors, it'll sit kind of like a, I don't know, like a swan's neck or a little duck, you know? Anyway, put them together like so. Whoop. And then the edge pieces just slip in. Ooh, tiny. Don't do that. Okay, so what this stage gives us is the first 2 layers of the 4x4, as well as a little bit of help with getting the next stage of internals inside, which is cool. So let's get some. 4 of the big ones and 8 of the small ones. And then we're very carefully going to introduce these into these channels. So again, you're taking 1 large internal, 2 small internals, and we're just going to try and guide those in here. Like so. So yeah, if your tensions are good, you can actually do this almost 1 piece at a time, but you can go, for example, so if you just take 1 small and 1 large, pop those in, easy as. If your tensions are good and loose, you can then just take the final small internal and actually just boot that in there real nice and easy. Marvelous. It might be a good idea now to put that last centerpiece in as well. Just be careful you don't upset the work you've done already. Okay, cool. Okay, so the core is in. Next thing I'm going to do is add another set of internals. And what you should be able to do now is just take a small and large piece, lift up your core, pop that in there. And if you keep some tension, you'll be able to introduce the final small internal. And let's build the 3rd layer of centers and edges. A 1. And then the edges. Nice. And what this allows us to do is grab 3 more internal pieces and put them there, small internals. 1, 2, 3. And then we can build up the rest of the internals. And because we have a bit of tension now, we can actually just pop a large internal in and then just very carefully put the small internal afterwards. So large internal, yeah. Large internal, yeah. Last one, there we go. And remember, patience is a virtue, and just be gentle when you're putting these pieces in, because it's all a bit fragile in here until we get these last pieces in to lock it all together. Speaking of which, let's get the centers. Let's start over here. Centers, obviously they're pretty loose. Yoink. These 2 edges, gently into the gap, and then find its place. Try not to dislodge any of your internals. Just let everything fall naturally into where it's supposed to be. Let's find some corners. Carefully. There we are. And this one, just gently find the places. Try not to force things. Now we're going to put these 2 edges in here. Number 1. And then, so this is like the piece you would take out if this was all built and you were taking this puzzle apart without unscrewing it. This is the corner that you would, whoop, this would be your first piece you took out. Gently find its spot again, being very careful not to dislodge anything, but it's getting pretty hard for things to move now. You notice these 2 small internal pieces have just moved ever so slightly, so we can put those back in. But we're getting there, people, nearly done. So now we're going to do a similar process on the other side. Let's go edges first this time, keeping an eye on this internal piece. 2 centers, getting closer. Corner pieces next. Just nice and firm but gentle. Does that make sense? There we go. Right. there is little chance of this going badly wrong now because there's not much space for anything to move around. So we're just looking for these final two edges. There's one, and then the final piece, everyone. There we are. Now, still super loose, so let's just give it a quick tighten up. And then finally, we can rip the old bandages off, give this final side tighten up to match the others. That is how to rebuild a 4x4 Speedcube. I hope this video has been useful for you. If you've enjoyed it and it's made sense, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more of these. If there are any other puzzles you'd like me to go ahead and reassemble, then please leave them in the comments. And as always, take it easy. We'll catch you in the next video. Yo!